just among fun. Military science, science fiction podcast. Books or stories every Wednesday. Military science fiction podcast. Discussion, interviews, reviews, and rants. Military science fiction podcast.
Wait, hey everybody, welcome to the show. Today we are talking about hobbies and how they help your writing, help you rejuvenate, or maybe learn new things, learn new skills. What are ways that hobbies have, improved your work or maybe gotten in the way of it by spending too much money? Um, and what got me on this was, Rick, well, you don't know, Rick will probably talk about this, but just spent Thanksgiving in Yellowstone taking a bunch of amazing photography. And if you're not following Rick's photography, which I think you're mostly posting on X, right?
No, I don't post any photography on X.
Oh, where do you
It's
post your
all
photography?
Instagram.
Instagram. Okay.
Yeah.
Which is your regular Facebook, tied to Facebook?
Sort of. It's a different screen name. I think my Instagram screen name is. Let me take a look.
Am I outing your secret Instagram, Rick? I'm
No,
sorry.
no. It's not secret. It's Rick Partlow 1966.
Which is
No
definitely not your
spaces.
birthday.
It's my birth year.
But I'm not saying this as like, go look at his cute photography. Like, if Rick wasn't writing, he could most likely be selling this to National Geographic or, it's
Yeah,
just some
probably
amazing
not.
stuff. I don't know. If you just want to chill out and look at some amazing photos, there is some cool stuff to look at. And so that's where we wanted to start with why, maybe if you can even back up, like what got you into photography and how has it, helped or competed with or grown with your writing?
It's been like a kind of a parallel, actually. I mean, writing started first because I've been writing since I was a little kid, but I've also liked taking pictures since I was a little kid. Just never had any real equipment to do it.
Mhm.
So I started getting into outdoor photography when I went to the Grand Canyon with my brother-in-law in 1998. I'd never been to the Grand Canyon. I wanted to hike to the bottom, and he wanted to go too. And this is back when all I had was a point and shoot film camera, like a little zoom film camera. And
Mhm.
I took 36 rolls of film on that trip, which cost a lot to get developed. So I started getting into landscape photography. I go back to the Southwest many times and take a lot of landscapes. And I didn't want to just take photos while I was out on trips. So I lived in Central Florida, not a lot of landscapes there.
No.
You can get some pretty sunrises and sunsets over water, but that's about it. So I started doing some bird photography because there's a lot of birds in Central Florida, water birds, raptors, all sorts of birds. So I started doing bird photography, and I found that, entertaining, but I'm not a big bird guy, and I really got tired quick of taking pictures of great blue herons because they're everywhere. You buy a new lens or buy a new camera, you go take a picture of a great blue heron because it's right there
Mhm.
in the retention pond in your subdivision. But I went to Yellowstone in 2006, and then from then on, I was just hooked on wildlife photography. I wanted to photograph big mammals. You know, I've got I got really, I don't know, hooked on it. And thinking about it through the years, I used to hunt. Not a lot, but I would hunt deer and wild hog.
So I was going to ask, like, has this supplanted?
And doing wildlife photography for me kind of scratches the same itch that hunting scratched. You spend a lot of time and effort and preparation finding out where animals are going to be. But it's more, for me, it's more satisfying because you hunt an animal, it's dead, you eat it, maybe that'll last, a few months. if you stretch it out, but it's gone, you know.
Well,
You might have,
anymore, it does feel like you're going to get more out of going on a photography trip than hunting. At least for me, last few trips I've made like cost a grand. I mean, it's great to be out away for a week, but there's just no like everything is so overhunted here that it's very hard to find anything. And so you spend that money. I kind of wish I'd rather spent it on a lens, you know?
well, here you have to hire a guide
Yeah.
basically for most things. Definitely for elk, which is what elk. 'Cause, I mean, you can if you're a local get an elk tag on your own, but really hard to find
Hmm.
unless you know the trails, you know, unless you were like born here. So I mean, would it be fun to go on an elk hunt? Maybe, but you know, I can go places where there are a lot of elk and where they can't be hunted, and I can go over and over and take photographs of them. And yeah, the camera gear costs a lot, but I get to, I get to recapture the same animals over and over. You know, you can't reshoot the same animal.
Yeah. You know, to plan around hunting season. And I mean, for
Yeah.
us, you know, apply for a tag, get in yeah, it's a whole thing. So how, so the result of your work, your photography looks technical. Would you say you're a technical photographer, or are you really using the gear, you know, just getting out there and getting the picture?
I learned photography the way I learn like almost everything in my life, which is by experience,
Hmm.
just doing it. If it was a piano, I would have learned playing it by ear. Although I suck at playing piano. I took lessons and it's bad. Um, Most of what I learned from just trial and error.
Hmm.
And that's that way for writing too. You know, I read just a buttload of books growing up, and when it came time that I wanted to write, I just started writing like the books I had read and made a lot of mistakes, but just through sheer volume, you get better. And it's the same thing with photography. When I started out, like I said, taking pictures of birds, a lot of them were really horrible. I mean, almost everybody's first attempts at wildlife photography are horrible. Um, and I looked at other people's photography, websites where people put up their shots, and I listened to not podcast because this was too early for that. I guess like it's really too early for YouTube even.
Hmm.
I read articles in magazines,
Yeah.
about this is a good way to start, to get your settings right. And I experimented trial and error with settings and where to stand and how to get, you know, better angles, which that's cool for a lot of things, but yeah, that's cool for things like landscapes and more uh not tame, but like habituated wildlife. But when you get to some wildlife, you got no choice with the angle. It is where it is, and you may or may not be able to even go low to get a shot because low is always better
Hmm.
when you're doing wildlife. But if there's weeds this tall, you aren't gonna go low. So I just learned it by trial and error, and I think it's very similar to my writing that way. Uh, I am There are ways that I could become a more professional photographer, most of them having to do with learning to use image processing software better. I have a basic idea of how to use Photoshop and Lightroom and all that, the basics to make the pictures look a little better. But there's all kinds of very intricate details I could get into that would require lots and lots of practice and study and reading that I don't have time for. So I do the best I can. I'm not trying to sell them. Uh, I think that's what attracts me about this hobby because early on, like in the early 2000s, uh, all the way through maybe 2010, I thought that I might be able to make money off wildlife photography. And I found out though that the market is super saturated
Hmm.
and there's not that many people that want to buy those images. So most of the people who make a living off of nature photography nowadays, you get a really popular Instagram feed and you make a YouTube channel that's very well produced, and then you start charging people to take them on tours, and that's how
Oh,
you
okay.
make money. There's
Yeah.
a very, very few old timers who can make money off their galleries and selling images to um, magazines, the few that still exist, and um, like selling books, like collections, or uh, Tom Mangelson, who lives over in Jackson, not too far from here, has a gallery there.
Hmm.
He's sold a bunch of books about the bears in Grand Teton National Park, the grizzlies, and he was here in the 80s. He can get he's an OG, so he can make money at that. But most people do not make money off the pictures they take directly.
It seems that a lot of people are selling the story of getting the thing as opposed to selling the thing. So,
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
YouTube, Patreon. I mean, even leading tours, you can't scale that, but you could scale Patreon, bringing people along with you. But yeah, and this is kind of a question. Like, as soon as you want to supposedly make money at something, it for me anyway, and I'm not going to say like I have no joy in writing. I have a lot of joy in writing. I take it very seriously, but there are a lot of times writing, I mean, even more so for you, is a job. It feels like a job. I approach it like a job. It's not always fun. Whereas is
Yeah.
photography something you try to keep fun, you know?
Well, writing for me, it has aspects of both.
Hmm.
I mean, if it didn't still feel like a hobby, I mean, honestly, even today, it feels like I'm cheating, like I'm pulling some scam on people that they're giving me money to do something I would do
Hmm.
anyway. Um, but if I had to market my writing, that would feel very much like a job because it did.
Yeah.
And the best thing that ever happened to me as a writer was finding Athon and Variant and others to publish the stuff for me, to market it for me, to do all the covers and the editing, because that's the stuff that feels like work. Um,
Well,
getting
same point of
getting the
fact with,
words, getting the necessary words in can feel a little like work,
yeah.
but I like the words. I like putting them on. I might have, if I didn't have to do it for a job, I might have waited like till tomorrow to finish that chapter instead of doing it tonight. But
Hmm.
that's if I could make a living, I'll tell you what, if I could make a living at wildlife photography, if there was some way to do that, I would. I know a few people that do it. And like writing, a lot of the people who make their living at wildlife, at nature photography, have other sources of income. Like
Yeah.
they got a pension or a retirement or independently wealthy, a rich wife,
Rich wife. Yep.
something that gets them by on the long dry spells. Um,
And there is nothing wrong with that. Go find yourself a rich wife and smile.
or husband.
But yep. There's
Uh,
also the thing which it feels like a lot of people are, this is coming around like as the, influencer or whatever economy is matured in a lot of ways. Like as soon as you start doing a thing for money, that money is going to influence what you do, how you choose to do it. It's very difficult not to let that, seep its way into the thing you're doing. And so,
and yet I meet people like that.
yeah.
Going back to photography, I meet people like that out there, like in the parks, who never seem to be having a good time.
Hmm.
I mean, there's a lot of professionals who do have a good time and appreciate what they get to do. And like I said, if I could do this for a living, that would be a dream, to be able to afford to go all around the world and lead tours in like South America and Africa. But these guys, they always seem like they're grumpy, like they didn't get what they wanted, or oh, there's too many people, I can't get the shot I want, or uh, the bear didn't do this, or the bird didn't do that. And like,
Can you bear?
I mean, for me, that's why it's like hunting. Nobody makes a living at hunting except hunting guides.
Hmm.
Uh, you do it because of the experience. You're out in nature, you're outside, you're watching wild animals, in their native environment, and you had the skill or the luck or the persistence to see them and get them in a place where they could be photographed. To me, that's the reward right there. I'm glad I don't have to count on it for money. I spend so much money on it.
Well, and I think it's important to note too that recognizing the software piece of it is not the thing that makes you as happy, and focusing on the thing that does make you happy. Because
Mhm.
I see that a lot where that's the other thing, there'll be something fun to do like music, or, for me also 3D printing, or my wife is really getting back into art. There's so many industries around trying to monetize those things, between buy this course, get these, buy these materials, do this, do that, when it's pulling you away from the thing that you actually love. And I think it's good to think about, like, this is what makes me happy about this, and I'm just
And
going
if
to
I
do that.
can delve into the question of AI real quick,
Yeah.
because just as AI is a problem for writers, it's a problem for photographers because there's a lot of AI fakes out there.
Oh yeah.
But the good side of AI, just like there's a good side for writers, you can use AI to research things. You can you can give it a whole bunch of ideas and says, organize these into a 3-act structure for me. Well, with photography, as I was saying, I don't know all the ins and outs of all this software. I mean, I've used it for years, but I'm very simple. Like I do the auto
Auto levels, and
levels,
yeah.
like the tones, the warmth of the picture. I'll let the machine decide that because I have no idea. And if it's not right, I'll go in and play with it. But usually it's okay. But it used to be not right a lot because it would take some part of the image that stood out and some part that was dim, and it would try to even those out, and that didn't always work. uh, but with AI, those auto settings are so much more accurate now. Like I go in there and I will hit like auto tone or auto contrast, or auto color balance, and it'll be just about right. Sometimes you still have to play with it, like I said, but it's not. It shortens the time to process things. It's more accurate. I don't have to learn how to go in to each of these different sliders and overlays and make myself a software expert just to take pictures. And that's the good thing about AI.
It is, but I also increasingly, if I come to a photo, or even, writing the same way, like I kind of want the human piece, like the human did this, and maybe it wasn't, normalized perfect across, a million photos the AI is using as a reference, but it's Rick made that choice, and that's a thing that I'm interested in. Same thing with writing. And I increasingly, in fact, it's a thing that I haven't, not that I'm going to buy a new camera because they're just too expensive, and I invested in a dead lens format, but
Which format?
uh EFM. I've got an
EFM?
M50, Canon, which I really like the form factor of that camera, and I've got almost every lens that can go with it, but they don't make them anymore, and they're not making that camera anymore. So, um,
That was a
but
long time ago, wasn't it?
that's like 6 or 7 years old. It's not that old.
EFM? I don't even remember it.
It's just a smaller, EF format, but they're a smaller camera, just a smaller lens system.
Yeah,
Because
I
the
mean, it's funny because you can get, if you shop for used gear, you can get really good bargains on a lot of DSLRs, which is not
Mhm.
the latest mirrorless thing, but it's you can get gear that costs thousands of dollars 6 or 7 years ago for hundreds of dollars.
Oh, and I've got an adapter as well, but I mean that's all part of it. Like I'll look at my bag and like I have 7 lenses here and I haven't used, I still t stick to the same 50 millimeter for most of the photography I do, which is my family, or my pets and
Yeah,
things.
50
So
is a great length for
yeah,
portrait and what do you call it? The word's escaping me.
just like street photography or
Yeah, street photography,
yeah,
but candid
yeah.
photography.
I mean,
Yeah.
the M50 also has a 24 millimeter, which is a really nice kind of wide angle pancake lens that
Hmm.
um, is really nice too. But I think those constraints are good. And then it doesn't, as far as I know, the sensors in the M50 don't do anything to manipulate the photo themselves. Whereas
No
some
camera really
cameras,
does.
what's that?
No camera really
Well, I,
manipulates the
I wonder
photo.
about that. They've started saying that like different one,
No,
Apple
they
definitely
say
does it.
that. They say that.
Yeah.
Well, no, phone cameras are different.
Hmm.
I'm talking about professional
Actual
cameras.
professional cameras.
They
Yeah.
don't the only thing they do inside the camera is stuff like white balance
Hmm.
or um, things like that. Things like the settings for white balance or color cast, like if you want it warmer or cooler. It used to be that was totally dependent on the body you chose because certain brands had warmer or cooler cast to
Hmm.
their photos. Now you can change that, but as far as sharpening and taking stuff out of it, no, cameras say, "Oh, I like the latest Sony mirrorless camera." They have things like it's AI assisted, but it's not. There's no
Yeah.
AI in the
Well, that's
camera.
good to hear because I don't want, that's the thing I like about having that kind of camera is I want it to represent reality as the way it was, right? I don't want to go
Yeah.
back and have it manipulated or zoom in and find out some person in the background has 6 fingers.
But cell
Uh,
phone cameras are definitely
yeah.
using AI, although I believe for most of them you have to have like a data connection to use that stuff.
Mm. Apple supposedly really uses it on their extended zoom, and
Yeah.
I just don't use that much on my iPhone. I, but that's the thing that's part of what I like about photography is I'm capturing a moment with my family. I'm less interested in going back and doing editing. Like I try to composite as I'm taking the photo. And I really just don't spend a lot of time. I spend more time organizing photos and making sure I can find them
Yeah.
again because I've lost photos throughout my life, which really bums me out. There's like years where I don't have any photos because a hard drive crashed, which is a lot less likely to happen these days, but that's a thing that I spend time on.
Yeah, for me, I have gotten away from doing like family photos or snapshots on a camera. I always use my phone for that.
Yeah.
And I usually just keep the pictures in my phone. If I get a new phone, it transfers over. I really should back them up on something, but I hardly ever get around to doing that.
Yeah. I will say there's a marked difference in, what I take with the Canon and what I take with my iPhone. Like you'll think the iPhone is fine, and then I'll look at something I did with an actual lens, and it's just like, oh yeah, that is so much better.
I have on my camera roll in my phone almost 9,000 pictures going back to 2011.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
But getting back to the AI thing, just like in writing where AI has like a gray area. I mean, we all think that having an AI write a book and publishing it is a bad thing. But then you get into gray areas like, well, what if the AI edits it? Or what if the AI rearranges your chapters? Or what, how much can you let an AI do before the book is not your work? Well, in photography, there's a lot of gray areas like that too, because you can use AI. For example, it used to be if you got a picture of a animal and there was like a thin twig going across the top of the picture. Well, you could try to clone that out, but it always looked like crap.
Yeah.
Now the AI can get rid of it. It's easy. You
Mm.
highlight it, it's gone. It's gone like it was never there. Now that's a gray area. Is like, is that cheating? Is that your work anymore? Uh, there used to be that photo contests would not allow you to do something like that, but now they do as long as you acknowledge you did it.
Hmm.
And as long as it looks good, like if it didn't leave any artifacts behind. I was watching a friend of mine who is a professional photographer, entered a photo contest, and he he was like a member of this group that had the photo contest, so he had access to watching the live judging. And we were on a photography trip, and he had the live judging running, so he could see when they looked at his photographs. So I got to watch these judges look at each of these photographs and go into what their criteria were, and I was shocked how ready they were to accept uh, photos that had been altered.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, as it was well done, you know.
Were these mostly artists or people coming from like a photojournalism background?
Um, they were mostly like um, professional photographers.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if any of them had done photojournalism, but they were like people who did outdoor and portraiture and all the
Yeah.
different categories that were up there.
I feel like that's where it really comes into play is like what is representing reality at that point. And if it's something for a news story or because even then so much editorial goes into how you choose it, frame it, what you choose to take a picture of. And then if it's edited afterwards, now what is that image even representing? It's not what
Yeah,
actually happened there anymore. If you haven't watched our show on future propaganda, that plays into that.
yeah.
Um,
But tying that into writing, though,
mhm.
yeah, that I think that kind of informs my opinion about using AI for writing, because I've seen how even before writing, the technological manipulation of photos, taking things out that weren't there and putting things in, taking things out that were there and putting things in that weren't. It's been going on for longer than it has in writing. So my opinion about using AI for writing is kind of informed by the history of knowing Photoshop and photo manipulation.
Yeah. Well, I also think of it as two different skills. Like I think of a magazine photographer or artist or format technical photographer is getting paid to make a thing that will represent, you know, a Big Mac. And they want the Big Mac to look as good as it possibly can. And there's already so much manipulation that goes into that. Like it's not actually a Big Mac. But writing a story is the same way. Like if somebody buys your story, fiction, you're really kind of making a promise that you made this and I put effort into this and that's what you're paying for. You're not paying for me to have written half of it with AI. And that kind of gets for me the difference between I've been thinking a lot about content versus writing. What is content that we just are swimming in right now and what is writing? Whereas for me, where I've kind of landed is it comes down to the effort that you put into the thing, which maybe gets at, okay, a musician could just effortlessly create something awesome, but there's also the years they put into learning that skill. Just like somebody might look at you writing a story and think, well, he just sat down and wrote that in, an hour, but they're discounting the years of effort you put into that. Whereas us having a conversation right now, like, yes, we've talked about it. We have all of our knowledge we bring to it, but it still is kind of content, you know?
Um, well, and that's another gray area because you get different sections of your audience. I remember back in the 90s, um, there was briefly a series of very thin novels, almost novellas, in plain white covers, and they were called generic science fiction story, generic fantasy
I remember
story.
that food at the store because my mom bought it for us.
No, but this was like, and these weren't AI because it didn't exist at the time,
Yeah.
but these were very cliche, trope ridden, uh, low effort candy, just brain candy.
Yeah.
And nowadays, if they did that, those would be AI written,
Brain
and they
rot.
wouldn't make any attempt to clean it up. They would just
Mhm.
say, "This, I'm selling this cheap. This is just for your brief entertainment." And there are people who will be satisfied with that and who will buy that, and will say, this keeps me entertained until the next really good thing comes along. Is that wrong to do that? I don't know. I mean, is it less wrong if you admit that you did it and say this was written with AI assistance? I mean, that's the whole thing, like with AI with pic photos, now it's like it's okay as long as we know that you use AI manipulation. We judge your artistic ability in making the final work. Like this isn't a a photo realistic picture. It's a piece of art that
Yeah.
you've made with the help of an AI. Um, I don't know. I feel like some readers will accept that. Will buy that. It's not something I like because I write fast, and I think maybe if I could do like some trad pub writers do and take a year to write something, maybe it would be smoother, or maybe it'd be longer, maybe it'd have more subplots. But through long practice, I've made books that I think are, you know, good. They're good. The characters have depth, and I can also do them fast. And that is through years of practice and lots of hard work. And the idea that somebody can use AI and have a product that's not quite as good, but much faster bothers me.
Right. Well, and that's where like us doing this, like, Rick Partlow exists. James Stegall or James S. Aaron exists. And if we need to point back at uh, Jeffrey Haskell is an actual person, Josh Hayes is an actual person, um, that maybe feels like something that could be useful in the future.
Well, that's
But
why I think things like this are going to be more important.
mhm,
Not this particular podcast, but connecting personally with the fans is
yeah,
going to be more important. I hear people talking all the time with marketing about like email lists, but I think that's kind of people are confusing correlation with causation, because the people that were more popular writers connected with more fans and have a bigger email list, so they think their email list sells their books, but I think their books sell their email list.
I
But
agree. And I also have
what
come to recognize that those are two separate skills. I hate writing email marketing. I
Yeah.
love writing fiction. It will take me forever to sit down and write a stupid email and then still hate it after I send it out. So I just stopped doing it.
Well, but my point is that connecting personally, things
Yeah.
like this, like videos, reels on Facebook, reels on Instagram, maybe God help us all, TikTok. I will never go on TikTok, but whoever does.
Nope.
Um, Things like that are probably what is going to be necessary for living writers, physical people, to maintain a connection with their fan base, to
Hmm.
prove that they are an actual person and not an AI writing these books.
Well, that's, I guess, kind of where I was going with that is for me, writing an email does, unless I'm writing you an email, which also feels disingenuous because I'm not writing an email to 5,000 people, personally. So
Yeah.
it feels fake to me. And that's why I've never enjoyed it. Whereas this, like, okay, we can have a conversation. Folks can, it's kind of like they're hanging out with us, and I find that valuable. I like to watch it as opposed to I really don't even like super slick video that you see on those various platforms now. Like I'm less interested in very slick YouTube videos unless it's something I'm trying to learn. But if it's a person communicating, I don't want that. I don't want it to be intercut 100 times or the ways that people are feeding the algorithm makes it less
It's a very
interesting to me.
thin line now with AI, with videos as well, and audio.
Yeah.
I can't count how many reels and uh, short YouTube videos I've tried to watch and wound up finding out that it's an AI voice reading a script,
Yeah.
maybe even written by an AI. And you find out quick because there's certain words they mispronounce when they're used in a different way. You know, like I can't think of one off the top of my head, but there's a lot of words that if depending on how you use in a sentence, you use them, you pronounce them differently. And
I have
AI
a
are pretty
word.
good with words, but they always use the wrong pronunciation.
Yeah. I, we've talked about it. I'm addicted to Reddit in a lot of ways, but one of the things about Reddit I'm always trying to
You'll
figure
never
out is
find a
like
more wretched hive of scum and villainy.
pretty much, pretty much. But what's real, what's not. Like Reddit is such a great platform for A/B testing content that I think that's what they're doing all the time. But one word that always jumps out at me, even in a post that seems relatively legit, is the word whilst. WHI
Whilst
whilst, like whilst they or won't they?
I
And
have,
I don't even know who
I think outside of medieval style fantasies, I don't think I've ever heard that
exactly.
word
And
used.
it'll be a comment like somebody talking about a relationship thing or something, and they say whilst that was happening. I was like, oh, this isn't real.
Oh no, no. Oh, I'm sorry. I was thinking of another. You're talking about whilst.
Whilst. Okay, yeah, I guess I was pronouncing it whilst, but yeah,
And
whilst.
that's whilst is a thing they use a lot more in Europe and
And that's what I'm
England.
thinking, but this will be something that's supposedly written by an American.
Yeah.
And so that's what when that and things like that. Well, like they're gonna get better at it, but think like the people were saying the M dash is a big tell. Um,
Since I use M dash
I use
in
M
my
dashes a lot. I
writing,
really like M dashes. It's not an ellipses is too slow. An M dash is a break in the flow that's still related to the previous idea. But anyway,
I've been trying to use it less since I found out about
me
that.
too, which is frustrating because I like them. So one thing, I hobbies that I go down the rabbit holes on a lot. Like one thing I did want to mention with AI, like I've always wanted to be better at programming. Like there are several times in my life that I've tried to teach myself programming languages. And one thing AI has been very helpful for is like installing software, like writing scripts, things like that. Like even for this podcast, I was not this one in particular, but I was experimenting with a software service called Castopod that I used AI to help me install it on my own server and got it up and running. And that was a very helpful thing for me. Um, but those skills, like as I think about hobbies and skills that I am always kind of approaching hobbies wanting to learn something in a lot of ways, whether it's gardening teaches me patience because I can't speed the plants up. I got to do a lot of planning. Same thing with, learning new things about electronics or, needing to exercise more. So I really like bikes, motorcycles, even when I was riding motorcycles, that it's a different set of skills that focuses your mind in a different place, but I find that that comes back and helps the writing a lot. Or I'll be stuck somewhere and I go do something else for a while, and then I come back and I'll found that I have solved a problem in the back of my mind by doing something else. Does
Mhm.
photography do that for you, or are there other things that help you that way?
No, I am kind of the I'm kind of like somebody who tries to get all the other stuff out of my mind when I'm doing photography. And I know that some people, like you say, you don't think about something for a while and then the answer comes to you. I'm not like that. I
Yeah.
have to be sitting down thinking about something. And usually I'll have to, I'm one of these type of people who makes lists. I'll make a list. How can I get out of this corner I painted myself into? And I'll make a list of like bullet points. And I won't even have to go through the list because when I get to the right one, I'll know, oh yeah, that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
And I'll make a couple others, but then it's like, oh, that was just wasted time. I know that's what I'm going to do. But no, when I do photography, I like to put all that stuff out of my head because people make a lot of jokes like I'm the machine, but I really am doing this all day long. Not every second, but like all day long when every time I sit down, I'm doing this.
Hmm.
Uh I never sit down and just watch TV or just, watch a YouTube video or just listen to music. Whenever I sit down, when I'm not actively doing something like working out or, playing with the dog or whatever, or driving, uh, I am writing. I have my laptop open and I'm writing. So when I take a break to do photography, I like to totally put that stuff away and not think about it at all while I'm outside. Basically, if I go outside for a hike or if I go outside for photography, I am not thinking about writing. I
Yeah.
don't want to.
Well, see, I have to, because I've got so little time to write, I need to sit down and just try and do that. But then, I mean, yeah, it's going back and forth in my mind while I'm doing other things, but it's actually a point of, like, I've made the promise to my wife in a lot of ways that when we sit down and watch TV, I will watch TV with her and not do some, X other things, or same thing with my daughter, or, really trying to be present when I'm there doing that. But it's hard, like, it's so difficult these days. I mean, it's one reason I like music is because if I'm playing guitar or playing something else, like I'm just doing that thing. It's very hard to not get distracted and switch off to something else, because that always feels like a thing that is constantly pulling at your consciousness, is to switch away from the thing that you're doing and go do something else, and that is something I like really enjoy about stuff that's not writing. Because writing, it does feel like I reach a hitch and now my mind wants to switch off. And
See,
um
my wife and I don't watch TV together very much
yeah,
because, well, for one thing, we like different programs. Um, but for another, my wife works a very mentally demanding job as well. She's a
yeah.
pharmacist. And when her way of switching off is to come home and sit down on the couch and just flip through TV shows, mindless TV shows, uh, Real Housewives of Salt Lake City or whatever, just
Hmm.
whatever, just something to switch off because she doesn't want to think about anything demanding. So it's not like we're watching a series together that we have to get really involved in because she mostly doesn't do that. She doesn't really watch series. She just puts stuff on TV to not think about all the stuff she has to think about in the day. So
Yeah.
I don't have to worry about that. And honestly, most of the time we spend together where we are involved with each other is when we're away from home
Hmm.
doing stuff like driving or traveling or hiking, something we can do together out here outdoors.
Yeah. And it's basically the same thing, but you're actually experiencing something together, which might be better.
Yeah.
So one thing I wanted to ask about, which I think I think we have relatively, I won't say like somewhat different religious upbringings, whereas my family was very much Southern Baptist, kind of Protestant, like time that's not working is wasted time. And I had like my wife's family played cards like crazy. They're Italian. I had cards slapped out of my hand as a kid because that's where
Really?
the devil, the devil's in cards. And why are you playing cards?
I thought the
Um,
devil went down to Georgia. Oh.
yeah. And I even just had this conversation with my dad recently. Is he's pushing 80 now, and my dad probably should have been an engineer. He's a diesel mechanic, but he can manufacture or fabricate just about anything. But I was trying to get him to move into a different kind of hobby. Like, Dad, you got to stop working on machines because you physically can't do it anymore. Like, how about you start, doing electronics or maybe work on something small? And he gets frustrated because he's like, I built my own radio in Vietnam. I already did that. I'm like, well, I don't need hobbies. I don't have hobbies. I'm like, Dad, you're retired. Yes, you have hobbies. And and so that's always a thing that is sort of pulling at my mind sometimes when it's
My dad was the same way. He never had any
yeah,
hobbies. He he was a kid in the Great Depression.
yeah,
Um, so he worked a lot, and once he retired from, a job, but he would still just be doing something constantly.
yeah,
He would be working around the house or uh he wrote like religious, stuff,
yeah.
books about his because he was a
Your dad was a
Baptist
minister, right?
preacher.
Yeah.
Um
Oh, he was a Baptist teacher? For some reason I thought you said it was a different denomination.
no, he's a Baptist preacher.
Oh,
He
okay.
wasn't Southern Baptist. He was like independent fundamental Baptist.
Oh, okay. Well, still. Sorry, I guess I was thinking you had said something totally different. Okay. Well,
Yeah.
I'm corrected.
So he was always working on something. He actually was like at one point when we first moved to Florida, he did a radio show
Yeah.
um, on a religious channel. So yeah, he wasn't one to let the grass grow under his feet
Right. Well, and that's the thing. Like, do you ever feel like, well, I should be working? Like, I,
all the time.
yeah.
Um, it's funny, I still, after all these years of making a good living writing, still feel guilty sometimes. Like I'm not
Mhm.
really working.
Well, and I basically had two jobs for so much of my life that it's hard to imagine only having one job that, um, between the day job and then writing and then stacking other things on top of that. Like that's one of the things that really frustrates my family sometimes. They're just like, why are you doing this? Like, well, because I can't not do it. But also, if I wasn't doing this, I'd probably be doing something else, and you'd just be frustrated with me for that. So I'm not buying a jet ski.
Um,
Is there
I
anything that
wouldn't,
you've
I
learned
wouldn't
you'd
buy
say
one. I knew a guy who had one. They break real easy, and then it costs
didn't
a lot
make
of
him
money to
happy?
fix.
Well, that's always my go-to. Like, I'm not going to buy a boat, but jet skis seem like I like riding jet skis. They're like motorcycles in the water.
They are cool.
Yep,
They're like motorcycles, except when you fall off, you don't get really badly hurt.
exactly. You don't get all munged up. They just drag you if you've got the leash on.
When I took my wife on our honeymoon, we went to the Keys, and one of the things we did was rent a jet ski. And she was on behind me,
Hmm.
and I went on there. And I took this really sharp, whip it around turn, and I'm like, "Wasn't that cool?" I look back, and she had flown off the
Oh
back
man.
of the. I had to go back over and get her.
Hold on. Are there any hobbies you have not tried yet that you would like to try?
I don't know. I have tried a lot of hobbies through the years.
Yeah.
I did martial arts for a long time. Um, I was doing like marathons and triathlons. Um, I've done shooting on and off. I don't really, I've really done competition. It takes too much time and money.
Hmm.
Uh, no, I mean, I've never been good I don't never had enough patience to fish. No, I mean, I really can't think of anything I haven't tried yet that I really want to get into. I mean, if I was any good at music, I'd like to do that, but I'm not.
Yeah. I love playing music. I just wish I had more time. I guess if I could replicate myself to do like I love camping and I don't get to go camping nearly enough. I would love to had the opportunity to do the Pacific Crest Trail at one point in my life and I didn't, and I really wish I had.
Yeah.
Same thing with like hiking to the bottom of the Grand Canyon. I had an opportunity to do that and I didn't. Like I was just an idiot as a I was in the Boy Scouts my pretty much my whole life, and then I got into a rebellious phase and like all this cool stuff came down the pike, but I was angry at my dad, so I didn't do it, and that was stupid.
Well, my son was in Boy Scouts and I was assistant scoutmaster, so I got to do a lot of camping with them.
Yeah.
I'm kind of burned out on camping, honestly. I don't really want to do any more backpacking. Uh, Not, it's going to be a while before I could do it anyway, but of my arm.
Yeah.
But I don't, I'm not really that enthusiastic about it. It's a lot harder for me to get to sleep now than it used to be.
Hmm.
So sleeping on the ground isn't really appealing.
Oh, I gave in and got a cot. Cot technology has come a long way.
Yeah,
But yeah, I mean, my daughter's 7, so I want her to grow up with that. And we were
yeah.
in the scouts for a little bit. It's a big time commitment and she wants to do a lot of other things. So we're taking a break from that right now. But
Yeah, my
uh,
daughter was in Girl Scouts, but my wife did that with her. I didn't do it.
yeah. Yeah, we haven't tried Girl Scouts. Like I am really against selling Girl Scout cookies.
Oh
And
well, I'm really for buying them though.
I'm like, if she wants to go start a business, that's cool, but I don't want her hawking somebody else's, cookies on the side of the road.
I'll tell you what, Girl Scout cookies are a heck of a lot easier to sell than what the Boy Scouts have to
This is
sell.
true.
It's just popcorn.
And I told the Scoutmaster this, like, I would rather just give you money. Like, give the kids small business project and have them go do that. But I don't want them going door to door selling stuff. That is A, not safe, and B, like, you don't learn anything from it. But anyway,
We never went door to door with popcorn. we set up at like grocery store
Yeah.
entrances.
We would we actually got people to donate Christmas trees. Like in Oregon, it's a big deal, where like you might have a fallow unit, and people would just plant Christmas trees, and then they could donate the value of those Christmas trees to the Boy Scouts. So we would go cut the trees, load them, take them out, sell them for a month, and we made a lot of money off that. But like for probably 5 years of my childhood, I spent like all of November, December sitting in a parking lot, freezing with Christmas trees.
We also, with this being Florida, we did car washes a lot too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But yeah, that's
Spaghetti dinners.
it's one of the reasons I also don't like doing my own marketing because I did try to start a small business and I just recognize that I don't want to do that. I'd rather focus on things that I feel like I'm good at. So that's has been a big lesson about what
I
I
think
enjoy
I
doing
could
and
do
don't.
it. I mean, the thing with marketing is I think I could learn to do it, but it would be like that would be it. That would be the thing I did, you know.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have time to write if I did marketing.
Well, that's the thing. The thing you're good at is writing. That's the thing I would like to think that I'm good at too. Like I'm not good at writing marketing emails or figuring out retention rates or open, percentages or targeting or blah blah blah. I mean, I'm aware of those things. I know how they work, but I don't want to devote hours of my day to narrowing it down. It's hard enough to write something good.
Yeah.
I mean, I hate to say it, but it often feels like you can't, I don't know. Sometimes I feel like you can't actually be really good at multiple things like that. And the thing that I want to be really good at is writing. Maybe I could sell more stuff if I was better at the marketing side of it, but I don't care.
I I don't like marketing
Yeah.
and I don't want to take the time to get good at it because it's not something I enjoy. I've honestly never enjoyed anything. I know some people enjoy running a business. They enjoy the financial aspects. I never enjoyed anything having to do with numbers.
Hmm.
I took a economics course in high school and I was a very good student in high school, but I almost failed that course just because it was so boring. I would fall asleep just I'd be looking at the book and I'd be like, I, I didn't take a single economics or finance course in college, and I only took the math that I had to.
I'm much more interested in like the nuts and bolts of economics. Like I was watching, did you know that in their last quarterly earnings report, Home Depot actually blamed the lack of hurricanes for the downturn in their earnings? And I had never
That
thought
makes
about that
sense.
before, that hurricanes mean if it's a hurricane season, you should probably buy, or like this would be the dip. Like now is the year you should buy Home Depot or Lowe's and then
Yeah.
pray for hurricanes, which that's a terrible incentive. Um, I mean, I don't know. I like to build things, which I mean, I'm a project manager in my day job and I like technology. So I do a lot of, technical projects. And so that's a thing I enjoy, which a book often feels very much like just building a project, breaking it down, knowing what you need to do day by day, getting all the pieces together. And then once it's done, that's very gratifying, to be able to look back. And oftentimes I don't want to have been doing it in the moment, but then when I look back, I'm really proud of what I did, you know.
Well, so the things that you do for a hobby now,
Hmm.
you said you did 3D printing and
Hmm.
gardening. Do you feel like any of those uh, give you not like finding the answer to a question, but do you incorporate the experience of those things into your books at all?
Yeah, so like 3D printing, it's you could call it near future technology. It's commercial, like there's a big hobby aspect to it. So anytime people come together to figure something out, that's pretty cool. And the type of people that do that. And then as it gets commercialized, like I know there's a lot of like science fiction aspects of that, I think. Like as you watch, and one thing about 3D printing too, like when it first came out, everybody thought this was going to revolutionize everything. Like we'd be 3D printing hams and houses and
Mhm.
whatever. And that may still happen. Although I don't think people want to eat 3D printed hams yet. Um, but it's
Well,
interesting to
if you're
watch.
in a spaceship in between star systems, maybe.
Exactly. I think people are too afraid of like cricket paste. But if you could 3D print some like delicious cricket cookies, uh, people like future generations might be into that. But so that like both how people talk about it is interesting, and I kind of absorb that stuff, like the hype versus what is really there is a thing I think a lot about when it comes to science fiction and how technology is really going to play out. Because I think it's one thing to read about like the warp drive or transporters or but then thinking about like all the years it took to get up to the point of the transporter on the Enterprise actually working and not like leaving half of a person in space, or the battery dies in the middle of a transport, or the guy that's supposed to operate it is sick today and you get the third string guy that doesn't actually know how to calibrate it correctly.
Although the dirty secret of Star Trek is that when you go into the transporter, it sends a duplicate of you, and your original is killed.
Exactly. So that, I mean, that stuff. And then, I mean, gardening is like very much planning, thinking ahead, like organizing I have a half acre, so organizing my yard and thinking about how I want it to come together. And I'm a really impatient person, so it forces me to like just slow down, which is good for my writing as well.
Mhm.
Um, and so yeah, I mean, a lot of that stuff comes into play. Like playing music helps me kind of just get my mind out of like get to flow state, I guess, or really try to have fun with it. That's a thing too, that, remember that it should be fun. And if it isn't fun for me, it's probably not fun for the reader. So find a way to make that, I'm making a mistake here, make this better. And that's a
Yeah.
thing that I think about a lot. So,
For me, I don't know that photography itself has really made its way in my writing, but the stuff I've seen, the places I've been definitely has.
oh yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, I've written parts of planets and environments that look a lot like uh, Yellowstone and Grand Teton. I actually used Grand Teton in my last Archangel
I was
book.
gonna say the opening of Archangel is very similar, right?
But the opening of Archangel, yeah, he's on a wildlife preserve on this
Yeah.
planet where they have like clone revenant wildlife, that they've terraformed this planet and put the wildlife. I've used that a few times.
Hmm.
Um, but at the end of in book 5, the actual Grand Teton gets
Oh,
used.
okay.
I don't want to spoil any further than that. Not that anybody read book 4, so I don't know.
There's
um,
still hope.
but yeah, I mean the environments, the that's one thing about science fiction. I've read awful lot of environments that sound like a white room.
Yeah.
That's just way too it, or it's a jungle, or it's a forest, or it's, you know, the open plains, or it's a city. But being out here makes you appreciate the environment, the weather, the wind. These
Mhm.
are things you can incorporate into places where people go. If you're in the mountains, you get a lot of snow, you get a lot of wind. If you're in the plains, you get a lot of wind, and you get a lot of dust. And there's a certain way the light works in the mountains that it doesn't in the plains. It's all things that you can incorporate into the places you write. And I like setting things in basically boreal forest areas and mountainous
Mhm.
areas, because I think it makes the background of what's going on more interesting, as opposed to being in just like a city sitting on a plain.
Right.
You think more about rivers and about river deltas, and you know just because those are the places I go to get wildlife, but those are also the places that people build cities. There are places people have harbors and ports, big river deltas, you know, up in Wisconsin and Minnesota and down in Mississippi. You know, these are all river deltas are where all the cities are built, all the transport hubs. So being out in those places, being outside, I think helps a lot. If your whole life is sitting on the inside of a room somewhere, you know, your writing is going to be more claustrophobic.
Hmm.
You're going to be inside a cabin of a spaceship, or you're going to be inside an office, or you're going to be inside a building. It helps it helps you to make the characters and the setting more real if you're basing it on someplace real, I think.
But I think actually experiencing it as well. Like I've been in a submarine, I've been in Cheyenne Mountain, I've been like just the environments on the earth. Like you start to realize how varied it is. And if you can make like science fiction, I think sometimes the scope of it works against that because the whole idea that you could be traveling intergalactically, like you're stuck in a sterile environment the whole time in a ship, unless you've experienced that of being inside a tiny metal tube and how horrible that is for me.
Mhm.
It's hard to portray that, but then so often you're not getting down to like the dirt level. And that's one of the big things I took from the army. Like from the very first time of basic training, like making a slug trail, behind a log as you're trying to like avoid fire or something like that's such a different experience from somebody that's like in the Air Force doing something from an aircraft, the speed they're moving over the landscape. And I think that's just makes something so much more real if you can make that real for the reader. And and yeah, absolutely. I think those experiences are important.
It's also people have this idea of combat.
Hmm.
People who have not been in combat or been in the military have this idea of combat that comes from movies. And most of these movies are filmed in the same place.
Hmm.
And you think of people like in an open area with a few trees, but if you actually get out into places where like Afghanistan did not happen in an open area with a few trees.
Up and
you're
down
you're
mountains, like
up and down
yeah,
mountains.
way more
It's
snow than people realize, like
yeah,
much more forest than people realize.
yep. And you're shooting at incredibly long distances sometimes.
Yeah.
It's so just knowing what terrain looks like, I think is helpful. And also, if you're not on a world that's the equivalent of like Illinois or something or Indiana, you're going to be on a world that's that's got its own ecosystem, and
Hmm.
no, just hearing the sounds that you hear outside and at night especially,
Yeah.
it can inform a lot of the scenes that you write when you're not, like in a spaceship, like you said. And as for being in a space, not this is getting a little far afield, but I was once on a tour of the USS Drum,
Uh-huh.
which was a World War II U.S. submarine. It was in Mobile Harbor,
Hmm.
and I'll tell you what, if that's what it's like being on a spaceship, you're gonna have to have a certain kind of person that can deal with
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
because
Yeah.
those were really tight spaces.
Just being inside a boat, like I toured the oh shoot, it was one of the destroyers docked in San Diego. I don't know, I toured that in high school. I was just like, there's no way I'm joining the Navy. Like, I do not want to
Hmm.
be on this thing in the ocean, trapped behind a hatch. Like, nope. I want to be able to like, if I got to run in a forest somewhere, that's what I want to be able to do.
If you've ever gone to like Kennedy Space Center,
Hmm.
someplace like that, and looked at the size of the capsules
Oh yeah,
that those people had to sit in, sometimes for like 3 days. I don't know how they did it because it would have driven me nuts.
yeah. It takes a special kind of mindset. And yeah, you don't know until you see those things. I think you just don't appreciate it. So, huh.
Well,
Anything else you wanted to mention? I'm trying to think of other things I could say that would be helpful about it. I just like to try new things too. Like
well,
if
other
I'm curious
hobbies
about
like
something.
besides photography, like when I was into martial arts, that helped
Mhm.
a lot with
Oh, I
writing
bet.
because
Yeah.
it gives you an idea. It's not so much the actual martial art because that can vary as to its usefulness in real life. Although if you take something like Krav Maga or MMA style fighting or Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, those can really inform your fighting. But just being hit,
Hmm.
knowing what it feels like to be hit is a really valuable thing in writing. Knowing what it feels like to hit somebody else, you know?
Oh, I'm on the ground and I can't breathe. That's not fun.
Yeah. That is something that really informed my writing when it came to writing fights
Mhm.
is how it feels when you're on the ground and somebody is on top of you trying to pound you or so you can't breathe. You start to panic real
Yeah.
easy. Uh,
Yeah. I mean, I admit that's one thing my fight knowledge is pretty much stuck in army combatives, and I've
huh.
never done any additional martial arts. So
They didn't even have combatives when I was in.
yeah. Pugil sticks. You ever do that?
That was yeah, that's all we did, pugil sticks.
Yeah.
It's like you don't need to know how to fight with your hands. You have a
I know.
rifle.
Well, and you're in the infantry.
Yeah.
I remember the first time when I was in the captain's career course, it was taught by a tanker. And I mean, I was air defense. Like, if somebody's getting that close to us, we're pretty much screwed. And he was like, I want to be in trenches slitting throats with bayonets. And like, you're in a tank. What are you talking about?
I'm gonna jump out of my tank into a
I
trench.
know. Get in the
Slit,
breach. Like, okay.
slit the throat of the guy I already ran over with my tank.
I know, pretty much.
But yeah, that can help. Like just example of other hobbies that you might have that can shooting helped.
Mhm. Oh, shooting. Yeah, shooting is huge. Just
Just
understanding how weapons work, how, different types of ballistics, ranges, what you can actually do with a rifle versus a pistol. Like, that's one of the
yeah,
things I think, movies just really do a disservice to how
it's a
firearms.
lot harder to hit targets at a
Yeah.
distance with the pistol than people think it is.
Yeah.
They watch movies and they see somebody shoot somebody out there like 50 yards away. Like remember Die Hard 3 where he shoots the wire up by the helicopter with a snub nose 38. I'm like, dude, you're not making that shit. I snub nose 38, you can barely hit it like 25 yards. And
Hmm.
if you have to be really good to be able to do that.
I didn't even like I had a snub-nose 38. Like, okay, which which chamber didn't have the bullet in it? I never liked that very much. But the other, oh damn it, my mind just went away. How fast you can draw like a pistol too. Like, I think a lot of people don't realize that, or how hard it can be, like with newer, safety holsters. Or I I don't know. I would almost rather always carry a rifle that I could hit somebody with closely than a pistol. But I also have never trained as much with pistols as I did with rifles, so that's a thing
You
too that
can
I'm.
you can draw a pistol pretty fast depending on where you carry it and how much you
Yeah.
practice. Uh, I think people underestimate how fast you can get a pistol out and how
Yeah.
many shots you can get off very quickly with a little bit of training. I see like stories where people are saying like, "Well, why do you shoot them 10 times?" It's like because you train to just draw and shoot until the threat goes
Right.
away. And
So the rest
it's
stop.
very, very easy to shoot 10 times in 2 or 3 seconds
Hmm.
with a modern semi-automatic pistol.
I just
But
watched some video of a guy taking out 27 targets, and did you see that video?
no,
Um, that was in something like, I don't even know, less than 10 seconds, but it was crazy.
27 targets.
Yeah,
You
it was just, I mean, he obviously practiced it a lot, but
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, well,
And
we're at an
that is
hour.
also another thing,
Yeah, yeah.
not to go off on a tangent, but people get wrong when they watch movies is they totally underestimate how far away you can shoot somebody with a accurate rifle.
Mm-hmm.
You can shoot. I hear people like when somebody gets like Charlie Kirk got shot and it was 200 yards away, and people were like, "Well, this guy must be a trained military sniper." It's like, no, you can hit things from much further away than that as just like a regular civilian hunter. It's not that hard.
Yeah. Yeah, a 300-meter target is whatever you
And
average.
if you have a shooting hobby,
Yeah.
you will know. And I mean, there may be a time in the future if you're talking like electromagnetic slug shooter that fires things at 9,000 feet per second, and a computerized scope that can have you arrange that will basically aim for you.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing with cover and concealment, in military science fiction. If you have that, then you're going to have defenses that are much different than we have now. If you have some kind of a head, like a forward operating base, you're going to have some kind of electromagnetic shielding to keep
Mhm.
people from shooting electromagnetically shot, slugs at you from 3 miles away.
Right. With like laser guidance, or yeah, I
Yeah.
don't know. I haven't even gone down the rabbit hole on what I'm sure exists out there as far as like AI assisted guidance on, maybe even small arms at this point, which is crazy.
Yeah, yeah, it's getting to the point where you have to think. If you don't want to use that kind of thing, that's fine, but you have to think of a reason why you're not using it.
Yeah. EMP. It's all EMP.
There
We're all
you
using swords now. All right. Well, I don't know. We'd love to hear about what, if you've got a hobby that is cool and interesting or even not. Are you a knitter, and does that help your writing? We'd like to hear about it.
You could be a
Actually, I think
nitpicker.
knitting is very hard to do, so I'm not going to pick on knitting. Um, but yeah, we didn't even talk about pets or like what they might bring. Um, yeah. So anyway, let us know, and thanks for hanging out.
Pets are very good distractions to keep you from writing.
That too. Yeah. They ease the depression, the pain of being a writer.
Yeah, there
Um,
you go.
all right. Well, hey, we'll see you next time. Thanks for hanging out with us. Later.